So, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the IACT IMDHA Presenters series in preparation for Hypno Expo 2019 on May 17th, 18th, and 19th in beautiful Daytona Beach. We are getting jazzed. Are you all ready for it, Karen?
Yes, I can hardly wait. I'm thrilled to death. I've done a couple of videos, putting them up on the website and putting them out there on social media, which I encourage everybody and all the speakers to do. Let's get the word out there and get our friends together in Daytona Beach, May 17th, 18th, and 19th.
Well, you know, for the last several weeks, in fact, I don't remember how many at this particular point, but for the last many weeks, we have been gathering on Sunday night and talking to people that are offering pre and post-conference programs at the Hypno Expo. So those are for the days before and after the 17th to the 19th weekend. You might want to be aware of that when it comes trying to making travel plans or anything like that. We do have, right before we get started here, just a couple announcements that we need to make that will be useful for you, whether you're watching live or whether you're watching this on a recording. So you want to go ahead and start with that, Karen?
Sure. You can get CEUs for your participation tonight. However much time you spend with us, IACT and IMDHA will give you that time right back, is spending time getting your CEUs. So all you have to do is log on and you can do that. By the way, you can also get CEUs from ICBCH and IHF and other cooperating hypnosis organizations, because we are, after all, talking to hypnotists. But by and large, IACT and IMDHA will definitely give you CEUs. The video will be posted most likely tomorrow. It'll be posted on the IACT IMDHA website, and it'll be posted on the Virtual Chapter Facebook page. And really, what I want you to know is we have a very special guest with us tonight. And I'm going to say real quick, did I forget anything? Do we have any other announcements before I give a real good introduction to our legendary guest?
Anything else? There's one announcement that would be useful, and that would be to mention that on Tuesday night of this week, the virtual chapter will have its regular meeting for this month on the same time as this evening, and on the same login as this evening, as a matter of fact. And our host will be Dan Kendall. Some of you know Dan. He's a delightful guy and a great speaker and presenter and a lovely hypnotist. He's going to be talking to us about how to supercharge your practice with video and with free consultations. He, in fact, claims that by adding free consultations to his work, he added $100,000 to his income, and we certainly are going to want to ask him about that.
Absolutely. And he's a pretty funny guy too, so it might be a real fun and funny evening. So what we really want to do is look forward to what we're doing tonight, talking with the legendary Michael Watson. I want to tell you, one of my favorite hypnotists in the whole world. Michael, the virtual hypnotist, has been practicing hypnosis for 4 decades. Can you believe that he started when he was 9? It's just amazing. A frequent speaker at conferences and workshops around the world. Michael is a certified trainer of NLP and Ericksonian hypnosis. He's a developer of evolutionary hypnosis. He's a diplomate of the IMDHA and IACT Educator of the Year. And as you well know, his lighthearted and caring style makes his programs as delightful as they are helpful to practitioners. A pioneer in modern training technologies and, of course, co-host. I'm riding his coattails. I'm his co-host on the virtual chapter, and we want you to join us there. He does maintain a private practice and mentorship online and locally in Orlando, Florida. And what we really want to talk to him about tonight primarily is the very special one-day workshop he'll be hosting Monday, the day after the conference, May 20th. All about being a virtual hypnotist. Now, Michael is the virtual hypnotist, but he is teaching the ins and outs of working online. I highly recommend it. You've got to do this. First of all, spending a day with Michael is a blast. Second thing is, I did this with him a couple of years ago to learn how to become a virtual hypnotist, and more than half of my business now is online. That's what Michael can do for you. So, Michael, how did you get started with this? I mean, regress as far back with that story as you would like to, but what I'm really wanting to know is, how did you evolve into the virtual hypnotist?
Well, I tell you, I have been fascinated since the beginning of computers, first of all, with how it is that we can connect with people that are in other places. And it's funny because we had telephones, you know, they were perfectly functional devices, but somehow or another, one of the first things that I remember on my PC was that I could type some text and somebody would see it somewhere else. And among that texting and typing, there were these Usenet news groups that some people might remember. This is like way back. This is even before AOL, as a matter of fact. It is that long ago. But there were these groups that were kind of like chat groups, and people were talking about hypnosis in one of them. It's where I met Roy Hunter and Kevin Hogan. Some people know Kevin Hogan. There were a number of us that really were kind of hanging out together. Um, Online, where all it was letters, you know, at an ASCII prompt on your blank screen, kind of like Jump and Jack Flash. And one of the first things that we started saying was, I wonder if there's a way you can do hypnosis on this thing. Can you type hypnosis and what will happen then? And you know, and everything that we could
try it.
Oh yeah, we did, and we had some interesting results.
I'll bet, yeah.
And they were variable. I mean, you know, clearly, obviously, it required very cooperative subjects or clients in order to do it. But we were fascinated with what else can you do. And then what I remember, things really started to change when there was a program called See You, See Me that came out. And you could log on to See You, See Me, and you could actually see people, like a little tiny picture like the size of the thumbnails that you might see in this software.
Yeah.
But there was no voice with it. Somehow or another, they didn't put those things together right away. So you had a chat room, and you know you could see each other. So that was kind of the next thing, you know. And then eventually there was Skype. And by that time, I also had been doing a lot of training in England, and it became a real sort of a practical issue for me because I was spending a bunch of time there, and then I was back here, and I had people that were students of mine that wanted to do sessions with me, or you know, or get together with me, and it was great as long as I was on their turf. But now it was like, well, what else can we do? So we started doing hypnosis on Skype. I mean, this goes back about maybe 10 years ago now, and more and more of that. Skype was really challenging at first. Some of you might remember, you know, if you were doing Skype, that the images weren't always very strong, or you would lose the connection more often than you do now. Gosh, the technology has improved so much to make it easier. But then finally we found Zoom, which is certainly my software of choice, and that was kind of brought about by IACT and IMDHA in the sense that they were encouraging the idea of we're going to have to go online. That this is the way of the future, and I think it's one of the important things about doing this class as well is the world is moving in this direction. People are buying services online. They're connecting online with doctors and psychotherapists and everybody else. And we've got a couple choices here. We can be rigid about it. And the funny thing is, as much as I was experimenting, I had some real reservations about doing serious therapy online or about doing training online with people that I wasn't in the same room with. So I was sort of split down the middle of it. The experimental part of me was thrilled, and I was a little hesitant. And so I used that hesitancy to make me look really carefully at the options until I found the best software choices that I could find, and really dedicated, you know, myself to the idea of how can we do this effectively? How can we do it safely? How can any objection that I could come up with became for me yet another how do I say it? Another challenge to discover, because what I knew was this is coming. This was at that particular point. It really wasn't optional. The question was going to be how to do it, and I thought the sooner that we can do it, and the sooner that we can do it well, we begin to set the standards for the industry, and that was really important to us. So we found Zoom, and here we are. And shortly after that, I started running the virtual chapter on Zoom. It had been a teleconference before. And
I found you first on that teleconference, right? It grew.
Yeah, and then I started teaching the virtual hypnotist class online, which is basically a 3-session program that people can do that teaches them how to manage the software and, and how to do all that stuff. And because I'm mentioning it, I might mention now that the virtual hypnotist class as well has been recorded. It's been offered like 9 times already, and in fact, it's in the 10th one right now. But it's been recorded, and it is available on a flash drive. You can see here. And the reason I'm telling you about this and doing this blatant commercial is that this flash drive is something that I'm going to make available to people who attend the post-conference program that we're talking about tonight as well. So if you come to the program, you'll get the day's worth of program with me, but you'll also get this as something that you can take home, plug into your computer, and watch more examples while you're actually sitting at your computer. And
what a generous offer, Michael, and a real added value to staying an extra day and taking that. It's amazing. And you mentioned IACT and IMDHA sort of on the forefront of doing this. It was a conference, my first IACT IMDHA conference, and I was speaking, and they were streaming the conference because it is a streaming conference, which is one of the wonderful things. Why wouldn't you want to come to Daytona Beach, of course, but if you can't, you can stream this conference. So it was that first one that was streamed, and after the conference, I got emails and calls from people who saw me on the conference, asking questions or asking for materials or even asking for sessions or mentoring, just from one streaming video. And I went, wow, there's really something to this. Then, of course, I knew somebody, because being friends with Michael Watson has so many advantages. It's unbelievable. And he talked it up, and then he offered a class. And I believe I was in your very first class. I was just so incredibly interested in this and learned a lot. There's the global reach. There's just a myriad advantages to working online. And in fairness to Michael, he's got a very clever name to his workshop. I don't think I gave it quite credit. Zoom Your Way to Success. A great man with words. So there are many advantages to working this way, to working online. Mm-hmm. Tell me a few.
Well, yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, just the global reach, the fact that I'm not limited, or none of us are limited to the local audience. I have a friend of mine who lives in Fort Pierce, I believe it is, Arkansas. And I remember him telling me I'll never be able to have a hypnosis career here because this is the middle of the Bible Belt, and everybody except for 3 people in this town think that the devil is operating in hypnosis, and what am I going to do? I'm like, well, if you have to stay in Fort Pierce or Fort Smith or whatever it was, maybe another option is to get online. And so now he's doing a whole lot of work on the computer. And for me, by the way, it's like 90% of what I do. So that global reach, just the fact that you're not stuck with your local neighborhood, you're certainly not. And guess what? You're not competing with the other hypnotists in your area, because now you're competing with all of the hypnotists in the world. So isn't that reassuring?
Cutting edge work. I don't know about you, because I don't know about traffic in Orlando, but in Chicago, I have clients right in town who prefer Zoom because they'd rather not drive an hour and a half to get to my office. And
That's
so
right.
even in town, in traffic, sometimes it can be miserable. It offers all sorts of options.
That's right. And I think of people like Melissa Tiers, for example, who's in Midtown Manhattan. There are some people I can imagine would prefer to, how about if I just, stay over here in the Bronx or wherever I'm at and see you online, or social phobics or agoraphobics. For example, there are people who are really hard to get into your office, and there are people who are housebound. My mother is 88 years old, for example, and she's not housebound, but it's certainly a challenge for her to go anywhere. So whether it's a hypnotist that's in her local town, or whether it's a hypnotist that's halfway across the world, it's just as easy for her, or I should say it's twice as easy for her to open up her computer and log on to a session.
So 2 questions about money. How does it change hands because you're not in the same room? And how do you charge? Do you charge less for online sessions, more, equal? How do you
Well,
charge and how do you get it?
I charge the same either way. It's the same amount of my time, and and for me, that's kind of the deal. But I think people have different ideas about it. I can't imagine why anybody would charge less for a premium service. I think that this is being that it's a convenience for your clients, hopefully as much as it is for you, that you ought to be able to get the same amount of money for it, if not more. Now, I understand at first, by the way, people need to be convinced. They might they might go, well, I don't know about hypnosis. It'd be one thing if I were to come to your office and you've got that overhead. You've got office rent and all those things. The cool thing about this, Karen, is that, and what I keep telling people in the virtual hypnotist class is that they can have a full-time practice online at a cost of $65 a month. And when I say $65 a month, actually, I mean $64.99. So see, it's better already. And what I really mean is $64.99 that they're quite possibly already paying, because I'm essentially talking about the cost of having a good internet connection. And a good internet connection, and perhaps if they want to pay the $15 fee, which is not necessary to Zoom, for a $14.99 fee for monthly access. But to run a practice online, all they need is to have a good internet connection, and this this is amazing, and this beautiful office that I'm sitting in.
I was just going to say, that doesn't come cheap. You've got to spend a boatload for that attractive office you've got there.
Well, and you seem to be in a deck on top of the Tribune Tower or something.
I come to my clients from the heavens.
That's delightful. Yeah. So I think one of the biggest, by the way, when we're talking about advantages, that really is one of the biggest advantages. Is the cost to this thing. I don't know at this point. I have toyed with the idea back and forth about just letting my brick and mortar office go altogether. But then I need it every once in a while, and I'm like, well, but I'm right at that breaking point, because 85 or 90% of my time, I'm online. I get a couple clients a month in my office, and I bet I could convert them.
And please now share with me the cost of that lovely office space we're looking at.
The one here that we're sitting in.
Yes.
I don't know who paid for it or how much they paid for it, but it's a file that I downloaded on the internet that is just projected behind me on a green screen. And which is nothing more than a piece of green fabric taped to a closet door in back of me.
So this can be done on the cheap and look very professional. I don't mean on the cheap, but I mean, you're talking about $64 here. You're talking about green fabric and pictures that you download, and everything looks very professional. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Well, I'm impressed. and that's why I pursue it, because I'm continually impressed by the upgrades in the technology and stuff, and how well it works. We used to struggle with Skype and stuff, as I mentioned, with lost connections and things like that. It doesn't happen anymore. And one of the things that people if you have licensure that requires it, Zoom is actually HIPAA compliant and all of that stuff, if it is configured correctly. And it's a very simple thing,
right,
to have it be HIPAA compliant. So,
and working with a client is just as easy as working in the same room, because you're really close. And imagine how easy it might be to hypnotize somebody who's already used to going into television hypnosis by staring at a screen. So for our clients, this is just so common. It's just so natural. Mm-hmm. Right? Are you finding any difficulties in working online?
Not at all. I mean, there are a couple of things that I'll mention in a minute. I noticed in the chat room, though, that there's a question, and I'd like to mention it, because I'm just talking about Zoom as a foregone conclusion. Like it is the thing to do. It is the software to use. And the question in the chat room is somebody who took my Zoom class but was asked by one of their clients to use Facebook Messenger. You can use Facebook Messenger. You can use anything that allows you to make a good connection. To be fair, my experience with Facebook Messenger is that it's not as reliable, and that it does require for the client to have an account. Just as FaceTime, by the way, some people say, oh, couldn't we do it on FaceTime? Well, to be honest, I don't know a lot about FaceTime, and I'm not an expert in the area. But the one thing that I do know is that it is an Apple proprietary product, and you can use it to connect to other people that are on Apple products. But if you've got a client who's on a IBM system, for example, or an Android phone or whatever it is, you can't connect with them. What I don't like about Skype or about FaceTime or about Facebook Messenger, period, is that all three of them require the people to have an account. And you need to find out what is your account, and so you can get to them. All you really need to do is to have an email address to send somebody an invitation for Zoom. And then when they click on the link, they will come into the meeting the very same way that the folks that are watching this call tonight, the folks that are watching it live at least, got into this meeting, whether this is the first time they came to the meeting or not. But the first time that they clicked on a link and it brought them to Zoom, they just answered a couple questions, and they didn't have to sign up. They didn't have to join. They didn't have to do anything.
How do you manage the environment? I mean, where you are, I can see it's absolutely gorgeous. It's pristine. You get to give all sorts of nonverbal suggestions just by the plushness of your office. But how do you manage their environment? How do you make sure that they're going to have a comfortable chair, or no dogs jumping on their lap, or anything else that might be going on there?
Well, one of the things that I do and I really think that it's a very useful thing to do, particularly if you're going to see clients online, is that I do initial consultations with every client that I have. And in my initial consultation, and I mean free initial consultations, and a lot of people do like 15 minutes on the phone or whatever it is they do. I might even spend a little bit more time than that if I've got the time. But I always do initial meetings with people because I want to find out, first of all, do they have an adequate internet connection? Because I have no interest in having a session that's just a whole lot of frustration about being able to stay connected. So I want to be able to sort that stuff out, in advance. And I think I'm losing your question just a little bit, but
just how do you manage the whole environment? I mean, I understand that about technology and all of that is part of it.
Yeah. So in that initial consultation, I get to sort of find out what's going on, where they're going to be at when they're connecting with me, and make arrangements with them then. If you've got animals, if you've got children, you need to do the kind of things that are necessary to ensure that you'll be undisturbed, and that you're in a place where you can be comfortable and all that. Now, one of the things about comfort, by the way, it's their own furniture, for goodness sake. So hopefully they've got a chair that they really like, that is the one that they are comfortable in. And they can do this wherever they can, put a laptop down or something. So
laptop, tablet, a cell phone, anything will work on Zoom.
Right.
Smart devices will work on Zoom.
Right, exactly. So they should be able to find some place in their house where they can be more comfortable. And if they can't be comfortable at home, then they don't need to be calling me. They need to be calling an interior designer.
Now, some hypnotists do touch their clients for one reason or another. Touch the back of the hand, or do some kind of anchoring technique, something like that. How do you manage that?
Here, put your hand up. So there's one of the things that you can't do. That's exactly right. And there are some differences, aren't there? One of the differences that I think is important for hypnotists to kind of be aware of, just as a little tip, is that the environment is two-dimensional, isn't it? It may look like 3D, but depending on who you were trained by and how you were trained, when I was trained in hypnosis, it was a bunch of Ericksonians and NLP people, and it was all about watching like a hawk. I remember John Grinder saying, eyes like a hawk, to be able to notice the tiniest little things. I mean, John Grinder, for God's sake, can see eye pupil dilation at like 40 feet or something, which is just ridiculous to me. But those things are tells for hypnotists, and sometimes we don't even realize what it is that we're noticing because unconsciously they're registering with us. But we have ways of noticing that the affect is changing in our client, and and different things like that. I think sometimes online it takes a little bit of recalibration because not having that third dimension, it might look different. You can't look, for example, at a chest and watch a chest rise and fall for breathing cues quite as well as you can watch shoulders lift and lower um, in this two-dimensional environment, right? You may not even see this at all. So you make some adjustments, but I think we make those adjustments quite naturally, and it just comes with a little bit of practice. And so I like to build into the courses, for example, opportunities for people to sort that stuff out. But we're actually talking about the environment, and I'm bringing all this in, but because as long as they can be comfortable there, and they may in fact be, like I said, more likely to be comfortable at home than if they have to. I don't know how comfortable you are in a doctor's office, but I'd rather. Could I just stay here?
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a whole new ad campaign about a new drug on the market that will let you do just that. You take this drug and you can go home and stay home and don't have to go back to the doctor's office. Something like that. At any rate, comfort's important. I've got a couple of questions here on the chat room that I just want to run past you very quickly, and then get to a couple more questions about the environment. Does Zoom have a time limit on calls? They're talking about Skype's free service has a limit of 40 minutes per call, and Zoom has a limit on its free, but not on one-on-one, right?
Yeah, I can explain this. By the way, it's interesting what Dan is saying about Skype, because I think that 40-minute thing may be the same way that Zoom's is. I've never been cut off. I've never paid for Skype. I don't use it a lot anymore, but I've never been cut off at 40 minutes before. What I think it is, and this is how it is with Zoom, which is the point, is that if you're one-on-one, Zoom is unlimited length of calls for absolutely free. If you want to do groups like this, where we've got 10 people or something here right now, if you want to do a group like this, then in fact it limits you to 40 minutes unless you have the paid version. And that's the only difference with the paid version, by the way. All the features are here, but the paid version allows you to have group meetings that go beyond 40 minutes. But if you're just going to work with clients, one-on-one, the unpaid version of Skype will let you have as long as sessions as you want to have with your clients and as many client sessions as you want to have.
The only caveat to that is I once worked with a client who her audio wasn't working well on our computer connection, and so she called by phone. And that was no problem. We had the visual on Zoom online, and we had her on her phone. Yeah. And everything was swell until we got to the 40-minute mark, and that's when the warning came up. You've got more than one person, because Zoom didn't know the difference between.
Yeah, Skype saw it as two different participants. So there was two of her and one of you.
That's right.
So you need to make sure you do the integration before 40 minutes.
That's exactly right. So you've got your client there. They're all comfortable in their own furniture, and they're happy, and everything's taken care of, and you got a good connection, and everything's going swell, and then they have one of those dreaded, what some hypnotists worry about, ab reactions. What do you do then?
You cheer. It's sort of funny. We have got abreactionophobia, I think, somewhere in our community, and the thing that's odd about that is typically abreactions are the indications that you're actually like in the right place. That something is happening, and and you need to support your client, but you don't have to touch your client. And I think that people have the idea that, like, if I'm there with my client, they're not going to do anything crazy. They're not going to do anything crazy if you're not there with them either. We have all had experiences, have we not, of personal friends of ours, for instance, who have had some kind of, critical issues going on in their life. They're particularly upset, and they're on the phone with you, and you talk to them, and you calm them, and you soothe them. you know, and everything works out just fine. It's your supportive presence that makes the difference, not your physical presence in the room. It'd be great to be with everybody all the time. You know, I don't want to I don't want to suggest, by the way, that I'm encouraging people to say, you know, get on Zoom and then you'll never have to actually be in the same room with another human being again. There's nothing quite as good as being with another person and really having that level of human contact. But when that's not the thing that's available, or when there are reasons that it's more convenient to do it differently, you can do this and you can interact with them meaningfully, thoughtfully. You can calm them when they're, you know, if they're upset, if that's what's called for. You can give them suggestions. I think it's Jerry Kine's classic suggestion is something like the scene fades and you're back in the room. You know, you don't need to be hands-on with a client in order to do those things. And quite frankly, my understanding of anchors suggests that if clients are having a difficult time, that's really not when you want to be touching them. So,
Right.
so thank God the computer is keeping me from doing anything foolish.
Do you set up things ahead of time, a safe word or something? Maybe safe word would imply something else, but would you set up some kind of safety net in case there's a dropped connection?
Yeah, in fact, and we always arrange that in advance. What I tell my clients first, especially when I'm about to do an induction or something, is I include in that induction the idea that if they should not hear my voice for a period of about a minute or more, that their attention will return back to the room and they'll realize that they've been disconnected, and that they should call me on their phone, and they'll have my number and whatever else it is, so that we can determine whether they should just go right back online. Typically, they can just click the link and come back in again. It's funny, Karen, because as I'm talking about this, it comes up in every conversation about it, and honestly, I really only had like 2 clients where I've had a challenge with this. So I want to really stress, first of all, it's not as big of a deal as you think. And the initial consultations really let me know, like I said, that the connection is good enough. But I do want to have them call me. And the reason I want to have them call me is, by the way, any of you who have done Skype before might have run into this experience where the call gets dropped and both of you are trying to reconnect at the same time. And it's really sort of a weird thing because one person has to call the other one, and somehow it just really doesn't work. Whereas with Zoom, one person can get back on the call and can wait for the other one to arrive, and typically they can just get right back in.
It's also easy enough, is it not, to give a suggestion, something like, if you lose if you don't hear my voice for a minute, we may have lost a connection. You'll be able to open your eyes and stay in hypnosis, click right back onto the screen, and we'll take right up where we left off. Something along those lines. You could give them that suggestion.
Yeah, sure. There are many ways of handling it. And just in case for some reason their connection really is gone, though, I do want to let them know that they can call me. And the reason I want them to call me, just for practical purposes, originally I thought, well, gosh, if we completely get lost, I'll just call them if I don't see them back on the screen in a few minutes. But the problem is, in order to do that, they've got to have their phone by them and it has to be turned on.
Right.
And I really don't want to, if I'm going to do hypnosis with them, I don't want to have them have a phone that's likely to ring with them in the session. So I have them turn their phone off. They can always turn it on when they're ready to call me.
Right. Are there legal issues to working not only cross country, but all around the globe, for heaven's sake?
Well, yes, there are legal issues and there are illegal issues as well. But and I'll tell you, the thing about them is because we really are in territory that is not well legislated. It makes it kind of interesting. If I am in Florida and I'm doing hypnosis with somebody who is in Florida, there is an attorney general in this state who is sworn to protect the consumers that are under his jurisdiction. So he wants to make sure that I don't do anything that causes any problem for any Floridian who is a consumer. You know, he's not out to necessarily come and get me. He's here to protect the public, right? Well, it gets interesting when you cross a state line because the consumer is in another state. So let's say that I have a client who is in Kentucky. I don't know why I picked Kentucky because Abraham Lincoln was born there, but but Kentucky is a lovely state. And so if there's a client who's in Kentucky, the Attorney General of Kentucky is interested in taking care of him, but has no ability to really enforce a cease and desist order, which is how these kind of issues are typically handled. He has no ability to enforce a cease and desist order against me in Florida. And it's too much effort for him to get the local DA or these folks involved. Even I've talked to, I mean, I've had the same conversation with about 6 different lawyers now who will agree there's just nobody who wants to do the effort that's involved. And when it comes to the other way, the district attorney in Florida, or the district attorney in Orlando in this area, or the attorney general in Florida, is not interested in pursuing me for things that I'm doing where the clients are in other jurisdictions, because there's nobody that he's there to represent or protect that's involved at all.
Very encouraging. A little sneaky, very encouraging.
Yeah.
And a great way to interpret it.
Yeah. And by the way, on the other hand, if I'm working with somebody who is in Florida, I need to follow the Florida law. And the other thing that I would point out, I don't want to say, I certainly don't want people to be careless with regard to this, because this doesn't give you carte blanche to do anything that you want to do. If I were to do hypnosis with you, Karen, and did something that was problematic for you, you still have the ability to file a civil suit against me, which is a different thing. It's not a question of breaking a law, but it could be a civil case, and you could bring charges against me that way.
Right. Thanks for I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, yeah, just in case it comes in handy sometime.
You know, I got more questions for you, Michael, but you did kind of hint to me earlier that you might do sort of demonstration process on us here tonight. And I would absolutely hate to pass that up. Do we have enough time to do that?
Yeah, I think so. We've got
even if we run just slightly over, I think it would be so worth it.
Yes, of course, since it's hypnosis, we might run slightly under.
Okay, well, whatever. We won't know how much time it took anyway when we're through, so.
Well, sure. So I'm wondering if anybody would be interested in, of course, I'm going to pick somebody that would be willing to be a demonstration subject for just a real simple induction and an opportunity to get access to some resources that will be useful to you. And you don't need to tell us about what it is that you're working on or interested in at all. It's one of those things that you can do completely content free. And mostly the reason that I want to do it is just so that you can see how easy it is that you can do meaningful work online. So let me find out now. And I don't know, Karen.
Well, I'm wondering if we can have somebody raise their hand really quickly if they would like to do that, Mary Beth. Well, she's very directly suggestible, because I asked her to raise her hand and she nodded her head. So take it from there, Michael.
All right, great. So Mary Beth, that's lovely. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just for the benefit of the recording and to let other people know, if you want to watch Mary Beth, because that's where all the action is, by the way, in this. And of course, Mary Beth, you can watch what happens inside of or within Mary Beth. But that's where all the action is. So since I'll be doing all the talking, or most of the talking, I mean, that's kind of how it works. For many of you, it may be that my picture is what you're going to see the whole time, and I don't want you to have to watch me. So if you just click on Mary Beth's little picture, there's those little thumbnail pictures, that will actually bring her picture to full size, and you'll be able to watch her through the demonstration. So is that okay with you, Mary Beth?
That's fine.
That's great. Well, it's nice to have you on the call, and it's nice that you volunteered for this. I really appreciate it. And I'm wondering, just first off, are you comfortable there where you are?
I am.
And just curiously, how comfortable are you? And I mean it this way. I mean, if one were like really tense and uptight, and 10 were as comfortable as you could possibly be, where do you think you are just kind of naturally as you sit there?
I'm certainly not as relaxed as I could be. I'm maybe a 5. I'm sitting in a straight back dining chair and
Uh-huh.
trying to work with a little bit of discomfort in my back. So,
Ah, and sometimes, by the way, a straight back chair like that can be really helpful when you've got discomfort. At least I find for me that if I'm, into something that's a little too cushy,
yes.
yeah. So yeah,
Yes.
so good. So you can kind of find your center of balance, and what I'd like you to do is to just take a nice, gentle, easy. Oh, before we do this, I just want to make sure you've got something that you're interested in, some area of your life where you'd like to experience some improvement. Is that right?
Yes.
And with regard to that improvement, what I want to suggest to you, just to make sure that I'm doing the right thing with so little information, that my sense is that there's some particular quality, some particular resource, something that would give you whatever it is that you need to be able to be different in that situation, or to experience that situation differently. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great. So good. So just let yourself kind of be centered and quiet for a moment, and take a gentle, easy breath, and close your eyes. And pay attention, Mary Beth, to your body, because you said earlier that you were kind of at a 5 naturally on the relaxation scale. Because I think hypnosis is such a curious thing, and uh, and I like to be curious. I like to explore things, and I wonder if you'd like to be curious about discovering just what would allow you to take that 5 and turn it into a 6 or a 7. Would you like to find out how to do that? All right. Then let that curiosity work for you. Just sitting there for a moment and feeling this 5. And as you start to wonder, how will it change? How will it evolve? I don't know if it's your unconscious mind, or if it's your inner self, or if it's your body itself that starts to show you the way. But you can feel how those changes can occur. Some people notice that it has something to do with the way that they hold their muscles. Some people find that it has something to do with the quality of their breathing. Other people notice that it has something to do with the stillness that you might recognize between one thought and another one, and how pleasantly quiet that can be. And whatever it is for you, as you notice those changes occurring, when that 5 has become at least a 6, you can just go ahead and give me a little nod as a way of letting me know. That's right. And perhaps that 6 can become a 7, or maybe it already has. That's right. And you could take it farther if you'd like. And that's an interesting thing, because in a situation like this, you can be as relaxed as you want to be. And yet, with enough attention in that relaxation to be able to be fully aware of the things that I'm saying to you, so that you can remember them, so that they can be useful to you later on. And one of the things that I know as you sit there is that there is a place in space out in front of you that's maybe 3 or 4 feet out in front of you. In space, it's just natural. Of course, there's a place in space 3 or 4 feet in front of you, out there. But you're in there now with your eyes closed, experiencing that inner state. And I wonder if you realize that there's a place in there, Mary Beth, that's 3 or 4 feet or so in front of you as well. And that place in inner space that's 3 or 4 feet in front of you is a very useful device, because it would be there as your unconscious mind begins to search for resources that will make a difference for you. That some image or symbol is likely to present itself. An image or a symbol that represents the particular quality that will really make a difference for you in the situation that you're interested in addressing here. And when you become aware of that symbol out there, you can just give us a nod again as a way of letting us know. And it's nice to realize that the symbol can evolve, it can develop just a little bit. Maybe you even just have it, that's right, even just have an energetic sense of it. But it's interesting to know that it's out there and that there is a place within you where that particular quality, where that particular resource really belongs, where it can do the most good. And it's always a little bit of a mystery to me about how this occurs, because sometimes it's that the symbol itself begins to slowly, gently find its way to just the right place within your body and being so that you can really have a felt sense of that quality. And other times it's that place within your body and being that calls for the symbol, that invites it in. But I think really it's a dance between both. And so over the course of the next minute or so, that symbol can find its way home. It can find its way to that place within you that's just right. Just where it wants to take up residence. And then it can begin to expand. And it can begin to expand in such a way that wherever it emanates from, you can feel it there. But you might also, after a minute, begin to have a sense of what it's like to feel just a little bit of that in your right shoulder. Or in your left knee as well. Because as it expands, it can fill you up inside. And that quality that you know is a useful one really begins to develop within you in a wonderful, rich way. One that you can enjoy thoroughly. And having that there, sensing that there now, understanding and appreciating and recognizing just what it's like to be filled with this particular quality, then it might be useful for you mentally to just step forward into the future, just a little bit, into a time and place when you're really going to want to have this. And discover for yourself what it will be like to be there then now. Having experienced this and taking it with you. And there's something, Mary Beth, that hypnotists do often. They go to the future and they discover what it's going to be like. But I'm actually interested in having you go just a little bit beyond that time in the future. When you can turn around and look back at an incident of success with this new resource. A time in the future when you've already had this quality working in you and through you and as you, just the way that you want it. And you can go beyond that and look back. recognize that the way that you know that you have something is when you can look back at it. And there isn't any reason that you can't already begin to do that now, so as to prepare yourself. And then when your unconscious mind, Mary Beth, is completely satisfied that something has begun here that can continue to develop for you. It might be interesting, for example, to notice what happens in your dreams or in your daydreams over the course of the next couple of days as you become more and more aware of this quality that generates from within you. So when your unconscious mind is satisfied that it's done what it came into this process in order to do, then something very unusual is going to happen, because you're going to find it a little difficult to remain in there so quiet, because it's only natural that you're going to want to come back out here and to experience it in real time out here in the world, and to let us know a little bit about your experience. And when that happens, I wouldn't be surprised if your eyes have a tendency to just open on their own almost automatically in the course of the next few minutes as you return to the room. There you go. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So just quickly, I don't want to run this any longer, because it's about time. It's about time for me to be done here. But is there anything that you can tell us about that? Just
It was a very interesting experience when you asked for the symbol. The image that came was like unidentifiable to me.
Mhm.
It was, you know, I could see like almost across a river, a wall of rock, and on the rock was a red something, like a red squiggle or a red, it almost looked like half of a Chinese character
Mhm.
that I didn't recognize.
Then how did you know it was half?
Well, I didn't really, other than it was only like one zigzag. You know, it wasn't like I was trying to make sense of it, and I finally decided that it didn't matter if it made sense, it just was.
That's right.
And then as you suggested bringing it in, then it became a symbol that was more recognizable. Then it grew into like a flame.
Nice.
And but in a brilliant red, and it seemed to be that it was the color more than the actual shape of it that was important.
Nice. It's so lovely. I mean, people have their own way to do these things, and so I wish you well with whatever it is that you're working on. And
I'm curious to know, Mary Beth, from you, because we just watched this happen with you. I'm curious to know if this was any different for you than an experience would have been in the same room with Michael.
Not at all.
Great. I didn't hit you in the head or poke you in the third eye, or
No.
wiggle your head around in a circle or any of those things. So
No.
by the way, just to let the audience know, if any of you had pinned Mary Beth to the screen, as I mentioned before, by clicking on her picture, if you click on her little thumbnail picture again, it'll restore the screen to its regular active speaker mode. So sorry to interrupt you. You were about to say something, Mary Beth.
I forget. I guess what I was going to say was that I do sessions online, and so it wasn't uncomfortable for me. You know, I didn't experience anything different in terms of following your voice. I mean, in hypnosis, your eyes are closed anyways. It doesn't matter if I'm looking at you.
Right.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. By the way, there is one other question that I have to answer. It's a very quick answer, so let me get it out of the chat room. Margaret has asked about how we handle payment for the sessions. I use PayPal, and particularly, and I use Square sometimes if people want to give me their credit card number online. I like that a little bit more, only because it deposits immediately to my checking account. But typically I use PayPal, and there's a service that PayPal has called PayPal Me, where I can actually send a link that has the dollar amount in it. It's just a simple link that I put in the email, the same email that I send them the link for the session in. So when I've scheduled a client with a session, they get an email that says, click this link to join the session at the appropriate time. And it also says, and click this payment link to confirm that you will be keeping this appointment. So they know it's a payment link. They click on it, and it's just 2 clicks, and I got my money.
I hate to rush this along, Michael, but I want to ask you a couple of really quick questions. One is one-on-one sessions all you can do online, or is there more?
Oh, well, you can, well, Karen Hand and I have been teaching an online hypnosis certification training. We've had a little bit of live stuff at the beginning, at the end of the class, but 13 online class sessions. So you can do that. Zoom.
Webinars, conferences, all sorts of stuff happen online, right?
And Zoom has recording facilities built right into it, so you can actually just use it anytime you want to make a quick little recording.
You wouldn't by any chance be covering a lot of that stuff in your one-day full workshop, the very amazing Zoom Your Way to Success full-day workshop on the 20th, would you?
I just might be, as a matter of fact. And just to remind everybody once again, that is, if you attend that class, you'll also get the there we go, the flash drive that has the online class that we teach recorded right off the computer when it was going on.
Super bonus. So you can register for that. It is Monday the 20th, right after the conference. And Michael and I will also be doing a 1-hour class together about talking about online, doing another little tease to let you know one more time. Will there by any chance be an opportunity in that one-day workshop to have one of those wonderful facilitations by you, people who attend?
To have one of those what now?
Wonderful hypnosis facilitations.
Well, there just might be.
I thought there might be another added bonus to attending that. So Michael Watson will be doing that. He'll be at the conference all weekend, of course. And in and out, come break bread with us and roast marshmallows with us on Friday night and that kind of thing. And join him on Monday, May 20th for, I've got to get the title right because I love it, Zoom Your Way to Success, doing online work. And what we should do, Michael, is what we should always do. 2 things. If somebody wants to get in touch with you and ask you questions, how will they get in touch with you?
Oh, okay. Well, my regular email address, I live in Florida and I do hypnosis. So if you remember those 2 things, you will probably be able to remember that my email address is flhypno, FLHYPNO, @outlook.com. So,
and I'm sorry, go ahead.
So send me a note. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a way to get in touch with you. And oh, we should open the microphones and let everybody give you a proper thank you.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. So let me do that. I'm going to unmute the microphones, but I'm not really going away, you know. So it's sort of.
No, you're not. So nobody else go away either, because we're going to recap the conference too. But we should give Michael his proper send off, because we give everybody a proper send off. And by the way, you deserve it. You put all this stuff together, so you get the double whammy of doing a great job tonight, putting the virtual chapter together, second Tuesday of every
Woohoo, Michael!
Right.
Yay! Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You have groupies, my friend. We love us some Michael.
That is true.
All right. So we're not going to take a whole lot of your time, but we want to take the next 20 minutes or so just to tell you and do some recap of some of the wonderful things that will be going on at the conference, the 17th through the 19th officially, and then Michael's Day on the 20th. You know, there are some pre-conference events that are going on, and we just like to give you a little heads up on some of the things that we have that are planned. Of course, as always, at the IACT IMDHA conference. George BN will be doing his Certified Master Trainer course. That's more than just a one day. That's May 15th, 16th, 17th, 20th, and 21st. And when we interviewed him, Michael, one of the things I didn't know about him was that he was a famous trombone player. Is that right? Trumpet player? What?
Guitar. I didn't know about trombones.
I'm sorry, guitar. I thought that it was a wind instrument, but no string instrument. Okay, I didn't even know that. I mean, he's a hypnosis teacher. Who knew that he had big band experience of some
How
sort?
about that? Well, in fact, I think it had something to do with that brought him to hypnosis in the first place. Yeah, so that was quite a surprise, wasn't it? And I had pictures of him from the 60s with long curly hair, looking a little bit like trying to be Peter Frampton, maybe.
You can get him and Peter Blum together. Do you think we can get a concert going? Peter singing bowls and George's guitar?
Yeah, well, there you go.
Maybe not.
We got to get that going.
There you go.
Yeah. So that was really exciting, and of course everybody knows. George teaches the Certified Master Trainer. Each year at the conference. It's 5 days altogether. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and then Monday and Tuesday around the conference weekend.
And Roy Hunter is going to be hanging out a lot too. He'll be there 2 days before the conference, and he'll be there 2 days after the conference. Before the conference, Roy Hunter is doing a parts therapy certification, a 2-day parts therapy certification. That'll be May 15th and 16th, so Wednesday and Thursday. And then Monday and Tuesday after the conference, he'll be doing another 2-day, which is train the parts trainer. So if you're certified in parts therapy on Monday and Tuesday, or at any other point where you've been certified by Roy, you can stay after on Monday and Tuesday and get certified as a parts trainer, official parts trainer. You can do that all in one fell swoop, or you can add the trainer part on if you stay Monday or Tuesday afterwards. And if you know anything about Roy Hunter, of course, he is the master regressionist, parts therapy kingpin that he inherited from Charles Tebbets, that he will not go a conversation without mentioning because he always attributes.
And as I mentioned, by the way, Roy is somebody that I met well over 30 years ago, probably online in those typing at the prompt and can you do hypnosis this way, and his book, The Art of Hypnotherapy, The Art of Hypnosis actually, and then The Art of Hypnotherapy are classics. And The Art of Hypnosis I actually got as a Microsoft Word document from him when he was first working on it.
Wow. Name dropper.
I know.
Do you still have that document? That might be worth something sometime.
Well, it's digital, so I have 100,000 of them actually.
Well, there you go. You can print them, and there can be big giveaways at the conference then.
Yeah. So, and everybody who knows Roy Hunter knows also that he did some work with Bruce Eimer. And we talked to Bruce Eimer towards the beginning of this series, and he's doing a 2-day course on presenting anxiety and depression on Wednesday and Thursday before the weekend of the conference. That's the 15th and 16th of May. So, if you're interested in that, make sure that you're there for Wednesday and Thursday, and of course register for that at the conference center.
Right. On Wednesday and Thursday, also, Don Pellis is doing core transformation. Now, it is one of my favorite things. I learned it from Michael. If Don is any place close to your expertise on this, Michael, it's going to be amazing. Core transformation. You know it better than anybody I know. You are the core transformation king. Explain a little bit about what that means in case somebody doesn't know.
Being the core transformation king, it means everything to me.
What the core transformation process might be. So I left myself wide open.
Yeah. Core transformation is just really a very gentle, lovely technique that allows people to really get in touch with what it is that's underneath those issues that are of concern to us. Changes that we're trying to make. Ultimately, we find at the bottom of it all that people are seeking one of 6 or 7 things, and they're these big fluffy things like peace, or like okayness, or oneness, or at the end of the day. And what we find out is when people can identify their core, what it is that they really are after, then we can actually help them experience that through the process, and having that available to them transforms all of the stuff that they were working on. You can use this on anything, and the interesting thing is you don't even need to have any problems in order to use it. You can actually use it to enhance something that's already wonderful. Like, let's say that you really love playing the piano, and you can actually find out what the deepest value underneath that experience of playing the piano is at a soul level, in such a way that it ripples through your whole life and experience. So
it was so pleasant to hear you say you don't even have to have any problems to benefit from this. How cool is that?
Yeah. That's a nice idea.
You can just celebrate your okayness. I like that. It's a wonderful thing. So Don Pellis will be doing the Core Transformation 2-day workshop, May 15th and 16th, Wednesday and Thursday before.
Yep.
Eric Rosen and Patty Scott will be doing a 2-day course on Monday and Tuesday after the conference, Medical Hypnotherapy Specialty Training. What's so special about doing medical hypnotherapy, Michael?
Well, that's a loaded question, isn't it? You're so good. You're so good at that. Well, this really is a great course, and it is a specialty training. There's a certificate involved, by the way, which is a lovely idea. And Eric and Patty have been at this for quite some while. It's really been something that IMDHA has supported them in, and they've developed this great protocol. A number of people have done live trainings with them that actually become upgrades for people who don't have maybe quite enough hours yet to be an IMDHA, and they've already got their training, and the medical training that they teach live fulfills those hourly requirements. I'm not sure, if this course at the conference isn't up, because it's 2 days instead of what usually might be 4 or 5, but they really have expertise in this particular area, and a lot to share. I would really recommend this one, Monday and Tuesday. I would recommend it, except for one problem, actually.
That you'll be on their opposite them, and so.
Yeah. I will be in another room doing a training at the time, but.
So I'm going to say that that's available. I'm going to say, if you want to listen to Michael Watson, he's going to recommend his own Virtual Hypnotist, Zoom into Success. But I think he should.
Well, yeah, but I really also want to recommend Eric and Patty. No, seriously, they are great. And Patty, by the way, is also one of those hypnotists that I have known for, pardon me, for more than 20 years, and of course she's here in Florida now. They both are here in Florida, and I just love her. If you don't know Patty Scott really well yet, go do this.
And if you take Michael's course, hook up with her over lunch and get to know her, because she's really cool. So if you're going to do hypnosis, medical or otherwise, why not make a success out of it, right? And if you want to figure out how to manifest success in your business, you want to go to Kwitai Neal's 2-day workshop, May 20th and 21st. That'll also be Monday and Tuesday, where she is talking about making a success out of your practice. She knows a little bit about that, does she not, Michael?
She does indeed. And in fact, what is her book about? A six-figure income or something?
Six-figure income. Let me look and see if it's written here.
I was just looking because typically it's within arm's reach. It was the night that I interviewed her.
Right. I don't have those books down here, so.
But yeah, a real success. I think Kwitai is the person to talk to if you really want to know something about how to make your business profitable and successful. She will tell you. The thing is that she doesn't mince words. One of the things that I love about Kwitai is she has reminded a number of hypnotherapists that they don't have a career yet; they have a hobby, and And
a lot of us are really good hypnotists. A lot of us are really lousy business people, and that's why we need somebody like Kwitai to help put things into shape.
You bet.
And she'll be doing that. That's May 20th and 21st. Sherry Gilbert.
I love this one. You know what I like about this one? It's smoking cessation for groups. So if you know any groups that need to stop smoking, then Sherry.
Right in there. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. So these are, and by the way, you know, our own Robert Otto spent.
I was just going to say the same thing. That's right.
Oh, go right ahead and say it.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, spent a lot of years on the road doing smoking and weight loss programs, programs for groups and things, and a lot of folks will go to groups that are maybe a little intimidated to go to a hypnotist by themselves. So running these group programs can be a very, very useful thing, and it can also open the door for somebody then to come to you for private sessions later on as well.
It's a wonderful thing. Like, you know, we get business from stage hypnotists sometimes. People will call up and say, I saw a stage hypnotist. Imagine the business that you can get when someone says, I went to a traveling hypnotist and I quit smoking. Now I want to lose weight. Can you help me? Groups can do all sorts of good. Not only can they do good for a community or good for a lot of people, it can really be a way to get top money into your bank account. Now,
by the way, if that's not your style, the other thing to point out about Sherry is she's not doing like one-shot hotel things. What she's doing is
right.
Typically it's like a number of sessions for a group, and she's providing all the materials to people in the class that tells them step by step what they need to do to go to create like a 6-week program, for example, in your office.
Way more doable for most hypnotists because they're going to stay around their own area, and it's a great way to get your office. Attila Kuhn is doing a 1-day course on age regression. That'll be on Thursday, May 16th. Fully understanding regressional hypnotherapy. He's got some interesting ideas about it, doesn't he, Michael?
He does indeed, and it looks like this is going to be another one of those really full things. In fact, in the course of 1 day, gosh, he's doing not only just regression itself, but how to find secondary gain. What he talks about pseudo and true regression, which are very interesting concepts that you'd have to hear it from him. I'm not even going to try, but I remember being quite fascinated with him, and stuff about healing the inner child and releasing and forgiveness and all that stuff. Going to be a lot of techniques and a lot of activity going on that day in that room, and that is on Thursday, by the way, before the weekend, May 16th. Looks like a lovely one.
Yeah, we move then into Friday sessions. There'll be a number of 1-day sessions on Friday, and the conference will be going on as well, but these 1-day sessions will be happening on that Friday. Dan Cleary is going to target pain, do his workshop on targeting pain on Friday, May 17th. It's a full day on managing pain and chronic pain. Dan's got a lot of experience with that.
Boy, he does, and he had a lot of personal pain to deal with. It's a result of a motorcycle accident, and he has a paralyzed arm that he has pain and difficulty with. That so this became a question of necessity for him to get involved in this field, and he and Michael Elner, for folks that know them, are the folks that really began taking this work to the what do they call it, to Pain Week, which is a medical association annual event, and really enrolling medical doctors in using hypnosis for pain as well.
And if that's too much of a pain for your schedule, you might want to remind yourself of positive experiences, positive changes instead.
Yeah, because if you look at your screen right now and you see that lovely woman in the pink sunset clouds of Chicago, she's the one that's going to be doing it. It's Karen's class, the reminding system for positive change. That was really a nice thing, by the way. I mean, you gave us a good overview of it on the week that we did the interview. And what do you want to tell them about it now? Just to
there's a little bit of difference to this system. This system is all about flexibility. And if I had to give it a metaphor, it would look more like a family tree than it would a linear system. So if you come across this, you have this option and this option. If it goes this way, you have this option and this option. So there will be a lot of techniques we discover, really good listening techniques, information gathering techniques, how to discover someone's personal trance words, so you can use those words to heighten or deepen the trance. And then flexibility, so that you'll know exactly what to tackle with your individual clients. I just find that all of my clients are so different that if I try to do any one particular thing every single time, it's a hit or miss. So if I pay attention, we can get to it and get to what is necessary if we've got enough tools.
Yeah.
So that's what the reminding system is about.
Well, that's going to be a wonderful day, and again, anybody who knows Karen, you know, it's going to be a delightful day. You're going to have a lot of fun, with her.
We will laugh. And then next door, Will Horton's going to be getting people addicted to hypnotherapy or something. Oh. What is that $15 million word there, Michael?
Hypnoaddictionology. I think I counted. I believe that it's 19 letters. I remember mentioning it to him that night. I think that's just cheating in Scrabble. But,
Hypnoaddictionology, addictions or bad habits, with Will Horton.
And again, Will is another person that I met over 20 years ago. And when I met him, he already had his credentials in addiction work, and has been working in that area for a long, long time. He's highly qualified. He's a really dynamic NLP guy. So again, if you don't know him, take my word for it. He's a really dynamic NLP guy. And if you do know him, well, you don't need to take my word for it.
And he knows a little bit about this, because he just a couple of weeks ago celebrated his 20 years of sobriety, got his 20-year chip for sobriety. So good for Dr. Will.
They have chips at the meeting?
In his class only, food is forbidden in all other classes, but there will be chips.
That's great.
In Will's class.
That is great. Yeah, so that's going to be a wonderful program. And
what if you, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, go ahead. I was ready to move to the next one. Are you there?
I was going to say, what if you're into developing your own unique hypnosis program? Then what might you do?
Just as Will Horton developed his own unique hypnosis program in hypnoaddictionology. And Sheila Granger, who is the one that's offering this course on developing your own unique hypnosis program, developed the gastric band program that she's had such great success with, the virtual gastric band. Yeah, this is just a lovely idea for hypnotists that really want to sort of focus in on something and make something special out of it. She knows what it takes to set up a plan, develop a program, get it in motion, and and get it marketed and stuff. I would love to spend a day with her, just learning how to do all that stuff.
Well, and she says she's going to really make this down, so she's spending some individual time with individual participants, so she can help them really make the programs they're looking for. So that's going to be a pretty cool day. Now, also on Friday, there'll be a full-day course on hypnosis for menopause relief. And Helen Brewer, just a delightful woman, a friend of mine, was here last Sunday to present her information on menopause relief. And unfortunately, I couldn't be here last Sunday night. And so I'm going to have to turn it over to Michael and find out what you learned about menopause last Sunday, Michael.
Oh, more than I wanted to know.
Share with us, would you please?
Of course, the only night that Karen couldn't be with me. So, well, I got to admit, I'm just really ignorant about this stuff and didn't even know what to ask, and it didn't occur to me until Helen's presentation, which is lovely, by the way.
Yes.
Really nice chat that we had. It didn't occur to me that this was even an area that men could get involved with.
But there's a really good reason why they should, right?
What is it?
Well, Helen told it to me. I thought maybe she enlightened you last Sunday. The reason is because if you have middle-aged women who come into your office for smoking cessation or stress relief or procrastination or anything else, they may also be experiencing hot flashes and other kinds of menopausal symptoms. If you also know how to work with that, You just rolled this over into another client issue that you can help this person with.
Sure.
And you've just shown them how impressive hypnosis really is. So even though men tend to shy away from this kind of thing, there is a real reason why you should know something about it. Even if you don't want to work with it, at least you could say, hypnosis can do something for that, and let me refer you to somebody who can help.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it looked like, and one of the things that we did talk about a little bit was this strange phenomena called male menopause, and there is such a thing, and I think what you will learn in her class can be helpful for that, because some of it is about stuff that happens physiologically. I think some of it is also about the kind of emotional components that that come along with that, because it also signals a certain biological time in your life and things, and
Oh, poor baby. I'm sorry that it affects your male ego to such
no.
I'm teasing.
Because I'm saying this about women, my dear, but I'm saying, and that is also true for men. That is, as we age, this is about coming to grips with a transitional time in your experience, and the tools here apply all over the place. So. Yeah.
Yes, I was just having fun. I was hearkening back to a class we did recently where one of our students had a cold, and he said that God gave women childbirth so it will give them a clue what men go through when they have a cold.
A bit of a clue.
Yeah, a bit of a clue, which I just thought was a very funny comment. All right. Also, on Monday, May 20th, there will be the 12 diversions to pain distraction. That's a one-day course with Lois Prinz. And she was actually on the Galaxy of Stars this year, was she not, Michael?
She was on the Galaxy of Stars, in fact, talking about just this topic. And she's been working in the area of pain for quite some number of years. I've only known her recently, but I know she has, she's got, I think, 30 years or so of hypnosis under her belt. And she's the lady to talk to. If you don't have stuff for pain management in your repertoire, you really need to get it. I think this is such a staple for folks that do hypnosis, and I'm so appreciated of IACT and IMDHA for having that.
Yes.
We've got stuff going on about addictions. We've got stuff going on about smoking. We've got stuff going on about pain management.
And to prove what a cutting-edge organization IACT, IMDHA, and Michael Watson really are, we have a one-day course on Monday that you may have heard just a tiny bit about. It's the Virtual Hypnotist, featuring the Virtual Hypnotist himself, Michael Watson. That's the one-day course on Monday, the 20th.
I'm going to that one. I'm going to that one. I just don't seem to be able to keep myself away from him.
I know. You know, we might need to get you into Will Horton's thing about hypno-addictionology with that thing that you have with Michael Watson.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you do attend Michael's workshop on Monday, you will not only get to spend a wonderful day with Michael, you'll get, and probably get some wonderful hypnosis from him as well. You'll get a flash drive that you can take home with you and review for the rest of your life. So count them, two incredible workshops, really, for the price of one on that particular day.
Did you hear that embedded command? You can take home and review for the rest of your life. Isn't that lovely? Isn't that lovely hypnotic language?
There you go. I like it very much. You know, we've been talking about the workshops, and there is incredible learning at the IACT IMDHA workshop. Oh, by the way, I want to tell you about a really fun day, too, before I forget. On Sunday, I'm hosting the lunch. Well, I'm not hosting the lunch, but I'll be speaking at the lunch on Sunday. And if you want to join me on it, I think there's a charge for that. I'm not sure, but I'd love to have you join me for the lunch because it's going to be really fun. It's going to be all about eliciting metaphors from your clients, and a really fun way to do client work or kids work, or even better yet, group work to introduce hypnosis. And the whole lunch, you'll get to participate in what the workshop would be that you would be throwing. You get to participate it, learn it from the inside out as if you're there. And then I'll give you all the materials so you will have a turnkey approach that you can do a workshop for chambers of commerce or women's groups or speaking engagements, or things that you can use privately with your clients or kids any way you want to use it. It's a really cool, very fun adventure, and I use it sometimes for groups as an intro to how powerful the subconscious mind is. So that's the luncheon event on Saturday.
No, no, no.
On
I'm sorry.
Bill Horton is doing the luncheon on Saturday, and so is he passing out drugs or what? I mean, he's doing addictionology. What's his big claim to fame for his luncheon on Saturday?
On Saturday at lunch, he's talking about the opioid epidemic, the truth.
Now, what a competition that would be if he's passing out opioids and I'm passing out metaphorical elicitation.
Well, yours will be the next day, so people will be over that.
I actually don't think Dr. Will's passing out opioids. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that's happening at the IACT.
Don't think so. But these are both going to be lovely luncheons. If you haven't attended any of the luncheons at IACT IMDHA, treat yourself. Go have a nice lunch and learn something. Sitting down over good food at the same time. It's just a special thing, and they're speakers that have been especially chosen by the choosers.
Whoever they are.
Yeah, well, they're a mysterious committee, I think, yes. But folks that have really been singled out specially because they have something really valuable to share. So do that. I'm looking, Karen. The clock is telling me that it's almost about time, and I am just looking through this catalog that everybody should have already, and there are so many things. I really appreciate this year that the catalog is instead of being all those little boxes that it used to be.
Right.
It's really kind of nice to read, and you got everything, everything written out, all the way across the page.
I'm going to sound like an old fuddy-duddy for a moment and say, as much as I like digital technology, I love the fact that IACT still has this wonderful program that we can hold and open up to and see everything laid out in front of us. I appreciate that because it really kind of helps me look at it at a glance and decide what I'm going to do every day.
There are some of the less fortunate hypnosis conventions that don't have these.
That's right. You know what else, by the way, before we forget to mention, one of my favorite things is always the reception Friday night that we all get to go to. And if the weather cooperates, we'll be able to roast marshmallows out by the fireplace right on the edge of the water. So by the pool, it's a wonderful thing. There's a pool, there's an outdoor bar. We get together for lunch, we get together for food. We're hanging out for the weekend, running into some of the most impressive people in the business. Mm-hmm. It's a no-miss opportunity to hang out in Daytona Beach.
And Karen, by the way, that I went. We were talking today that I took a trip this last week, and I went up to Marineland.
Yes.
What I didn't tell you is on the way up to Marineland, I went past the Daytona Beach Hotel and Conference Center that has been upgraded and all sorts of stuff, and it's really, really lovely. So
that's what I hear. Brand new with rooms and everything. Very cool.
Exactly. So it's going to be a great time. By the way, just to remind everybody too that you can do this streaming if you can't make it to Daytona Beach. Of course, we'd love to see you there so that we can, spin your head in a circle or poke in the third eye or whatever kind of induction that we might want to do like that. But nothing better than this conference. Family and friends and good learning and just a wonderful and supportive environment. So I'm really looking forward to it.
And a bunch of people we didn't even have time to mention. So even more speakers than we got around to talking about tonight. It's really a dynamic time.
Yep.
Hope to see you there May 17th, 18th, and 19th. You can register, of course, at the IACT IMDHA website.
Or you can call the organization as well. And by the way, you can register on the website or by calling them for the online program as well. So be there and get yourself hooked up with this thing because it's going to be fantastic.
Yes, it is. Don't forget to join us this coming Tuesday night on the virtual chapter meeting. Same location. Do we call that what? Same bat channel, same time. And we'll do the virtual chapter always the second Tuesday of every month. And on this coming Tuesday, we have Dan Candell talking about videos to enhance your business and having an all referral business and making $1 gazillion as a hypnotist. Something along those lines, I believe.
Yeah, sounds just about right. So,
yeah.
So we'll look forward to that, and Karen will be there, and I will be there. So we hope to see you all there too.
We do. thanks for joining us tonight. It's been a blast.
It's
Thank you,
been-
Mary Beth, for participating. Good to see you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.